Alrighty, what is going on today is April 4th. We're going to go over penny stocks recaps of the day. This whole week has been pretty dog shit if you've been trading small caps. And part of the reason is we have a main concern with the overall markets. The overall market has taken a little tumble in the past couple weeks. If you haven't noticed, look at this piece of shit. Cooked like a brisket. So one thing to note if you're kind of newer to this is just be careful with over trading on days like this. Regardless of what you're trading, things can get out of hand pretty quick. But just don't be an idiot. But anyways, we're gonna move over to our first stock. There weren't a whole lot of tickers today that were really good, so we're gonna clear out a bunch of crap ones out of the way first. MULN, we talked about MULN I think on Monday or Tuesday. MULN's a piece of shit stock. Again, the more you trade, the more you realize there are certain tickers, certain stocks that trade like pieces of shit and are manipulated beyond control. So pump and dump type stuff, it's clear every time. If you look at the pre-market on, even if you go back, Jesus. If we go back here, straight up, straight down. If you go a little bit further back, straight up, straight down. It's just stair stepping down. So remember to look at the dailies. Remember to look at previous history of stocks before you jump into stuff. It'll be a better indication of how they're going to trade. Moving over to SGMO. This one, anytime we have a weird looking pre-market like this, just straight up to 140, back all the way down, almost giving up the entire move, and then just flat. I tend to stay away from these ones. Let these ones set up first. These could potentially move. We've had a lot of runners from the 60, 70, 80 cents to over a dollar type moves. On this one, anything, again, opening and just fading for more than the first 5-10 minutes of open tends to be a piece of shit. Sometimes you will get these bounces back to VWAP and then they get cooked and just kind of die off for the rest of the day. This did break over here, but again, this is all just random bullshit spikes. Not really for a bullish setup, at least. Moving to BDRX. BDRX, this one, over a dollar. The volume is not great. This is another one where I let it set up. The whole week has been garbage for penny stocks, low floats. So it did open below VWAP. My one kind of good rule or good rule of thumb the past couple weeks, past month, is kind of trading over VWAP. I feel like those that are kind of sustained and hold VWAP at least tend to have better percent chance of making another leg or having some kind of push where I can make some cash money on. So for something like BDRX, it's you get a push at the open and then just kind of fades. At this point, we're so late in the day. Best case for something like BDRX or a ticker similar to this is it breaks out, holds and goes. We have not seen that. Best case for something like this recently has been maybe a spike over VWAP and then straight death. So tend to stick away from those ones. Moving to ENTO. ENTO ran into the daily 200 here at 87 off the rip. It faded into open. These types of pre-market plays also tend to be dog shit. We have had a couple of tickers in the past couple weeks that look like this. They'll catch volume and push up to like pre-market highs. Very hard to determine which ones can do that. Best way is to kind of look at the daily, see which ones are setting up the best. But this one, again, died off the opened, and just not even close to view. This thing's so far down, just not even worth trading for me. Low volume, it's a piece of shit. All right, moving to RSLS. This was one of the bright spots of the day. I did not trade this. It had no pre-market. It came off a super long sell-off. I don't know if it was an offering. I really don't give a shit what it was. This ran on April 1st. April Fools, apparently. Yeah, April 1st. I don't even recollect here. So it did have a major squeeze here. I think it probably an offering here. That's fucking crazy. 250 down to 50 fucking cents. Shoo! Anyway, but yeah, that's when you get something like this, sometimes you'll get something that kind of fill halfway, kind of some form of retracement there. I mean, this thing just got absolutely fried. Random spike. I don't do well with these personally. We do have a 1 minute 9 EMA ride here, which tends to happen on stuff that's going straight up. Getting 1 minute dips off the 1 minute 9 EMA tends to be a good thing. Kind of hard to do unless you're more of a scalper. We do get a dip into 53 here. I have this marked out as a kind of pivot level. We do have a little bit of a double bottom here. It did not make another leg, but I mean, some pretty good scalps here. 53 to 66. 6666 devil sign. No wonder it didn't work. But yeah, this was a good little scalp here, another scalp here. Didn't rotate back to here. It's a bad sign in this type of market. And then it just faded off. So there was some momentum as far as finding a 5 minute flag or an extended flag for another leg. Those are tougher to come across, but still some momentum nonetheless. All right, moving over to ICCT. This one was a multi-day runner. It ran on April 1st as well. I think it ran before too. So this has been a multiple back-to-back kind of day thing. It ran on Thursday. Let's see, yeah. So it ran on Thursday. The previous high was 542. On Thursday, it ran to about 630 here. Push up and then flat and death. And if you look over here, push up, it did kind of try to rotate, but it failed. You have a push there and then an end of day rotation. So these were kind of the pivotal levels to get over. We do have the inch 200 or the daily 200, my bad, on 710. We do get a halt out of the gates. If you weren't really, this was just more of a scalp session. I got a few scalps here. I took a couple scalps here. Took one off this one, and I think I stopped myself out just in case it came all the way back down. And then I re-added off of this 945 candle. Reason I did that was this is, again, the pivot from yesterday's high. So if it is going to hold, you know, projecting out, if I add here, where's my stop? My stop would be 630. Where would my sells be? At least up here into the daily 200 would be a good risk level. Good risk reward level, but stalled out at 760 and then just kind of died out the rest of the day. It did bounce on this level right here, so we don't get a full rotation, but still a good area to add into. But other than that, I think a lot of this week and last week has been multi-day runners and stuff like that. New gappers have been kind of dog shit, but yeah, it's just been an overall trash penny market, low float market. Moving to WCT, this one run before? No. This one was a weird one, 20-cent one, fading into open. We do have a push to view up. It gets slaughtered here. Not slaughtered, but doesn't really do much after that. And then this midday squeeze. So I was talking about BDRX. Best case is like a squeeze like this where it just goes and then just dies off. This is the typical volcano move. This was a really good flag right here. I'll give it credit where it's due. Typically, it just goes straight up and straight down. At least with this one, we have a really nice cup and handle here, and especially off of like this pivot right here, where this previous resistance is now support. Not bad at all, actually. I did not see that, but good run from 27 to 42, and then ski sloped into close. It's still trying to push here in after hours. We'll see what it does tomorrow or Monday. Yeah, I mean, that was nothing too crazy there, but a nice squeeze nonetheless. CXAI, the pre-market looked kind of garbage, low volume. Again, a lot of just spikes. in after hours and then just fade into open type of plays today. We do get a hold off the inch 200. It pushes failed rotation death. Once I saw this candle here, I was out. There is a low volume push towards the end of the day. These types of stocks suck ass, in my opinion, but this candle, I think, cooked a lot of people. You see something like this on a bad day, it's time to probably check out on this stock at least, but this is a nice little flag right here. This little double bottom flag here. Over the inch of 200, over 115, but other than that, it was not that good. All right, moving over to IBO. This one, anything that comes from under $1, opens over $1, tends to have tight halt bands, especially if it stays over $1. So I tend to let these ones do their thing, at least in the first 5 minutes. A lot of times you'll see halts first minute or so. If the market's hot, like if this moved up to 120 in one candle, would have halted up. At that point, it starts to get difficult. But this did come down into 90s. It did this. We've seen this move a lot, I believe, last year, where you would have this week open. You'd have this kind of like W pattern right here. So you push down, you push up, you have VWAP as a resistance point here. You come back down, you kind of create this double bottom flag right here. Here's your first pivot. Here's your second pivot. After this would maybe have been a good point to add, knowing that we have some support here below 90 cents. And then you get this rotation. And it's like, oh, it's, we can push maybe to pre-market high and then dump candle. So we saw a lot of this last year. This type of pattern tends to happen in a really cold market. So not a surprise that we're seeing it here. But yeah, you got to be careful. These fucking candles right here can really can mess your day. So this is, again, I think a scalp market unless you're trading things like AREB or ICCT, things that are multi-day runners that are pushing. So now our last ticker, the best one of the day. AREB, the Lord Savior. It's the new MLGO. It is balls to the wall, cranking. It's just any short in it is getting cooked like a fucking brisket. So let's go over it. We have, let's see, let me get, this thing ran on April 2nd. So this is the day 3. This could be inside bar play on the daily. But we do have this push here. And then we have the highs of 2 days ago on Wednesday were around 850. So it gets there and then open it halts down. Typically not a good sign. Anything that halts down in the past, this probably the whole year, anything that halts down at open usually does not push highs again. But sometimes you'll get weird stocks. Sometimes crazy things happen. So it's always good to have something like this that has potential on your watch list. Just trading down here, can be a pain in the ass, maybe a little bit risky. But some people do it. Some people are good at it, but definitely not me. It does hold the inch of 200 here and then reclaims and pushes back up. So at this point, I'm interested in it because this week, last week, we've seen a ton of weak opens, which to me, a weak open, I wouldn't classify this as a weak open, but it pushed down and then a reclaim basically of this. And we saw with IBO that it can reclaim and then fail, but a bunch of tickers this week and last week have done this pattern and actually have worked. So, and especially because this is a daily runner, multi-day runner, and we saw ICCT work, there was a solid chance that this could push highs. But we do have this push. It does halt down again. This, I think I snagged some here after this halt and got this push. That's pretty much all I got today. Did not trade any more of this. But it did hold here, halted down, held here. Kind of have balls to kind of add into this right here. But it did push. And then this thing was basically a halt monster the entire day. We do have a nice double bottom flag here, right there. Boom, boom, off of 913. Those have been some good ads right there. You do have this inside 5 flag, or what I call an inside 5 flag, right here. These are some of my favorite types of setups because you break this downtrend and then you have a push. Sometimes it'll get to highs, sometimes it won't. But it'll dip back down and then make the next leg. So I love these types of plays. They're faster. They're not really that slow. And then usually they'll like hold to like, you know, this 950 pivot, like right here. It'll hold like a certain pivot point that was resistance and now turns into support. So pretty easy there. And then this was a nice, beautiful flag here. I don't know if it halted or anything in here. Nice flag, a nice 1 minute dip to previous high here. And then we're riding the 1 minute 9 EMA all the way up, 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 up. And then, yeah, and then a bunch of halts. Trading in here, yeah, just don't be a dumbass because you can get caught in shit like this and then it comes back up. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So AREB definitely saved, I think, a lot of people today. Probably could have bagged some people short, but definitely the saving grace of the day. But other than that, SPY's cooked, market's cooked. Hopefully things turn around at some point and maybe we'll get some momentum. SPY's probably due for a bounce or something at some point. It could probably still keep going lower, but yeah, hopefully we get something good. And yeah, peace.